ever notice how people will celebrate you, but still try to shrink you at the same time? They'll clap for you, but quietly suggest that you make yourself smaller so you can still fit in the room. And that's what we're talking about today. Not settling for less, not shrinking to be accepted, and understanding that sometimes the biggest growth comes from saying no. All right, y'all, let's get into it.
Friday. The world is loud, but my voice is louder. Hey, yeah. Tapping unleash. Conversation starts now.
Welcome back. I am your host, Ariel, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Unleashed Conversations. I want to start this conversation with a real business moment. Some years back, I was asked to be a part of a hair competition because of my magazine. This agreement, it was simple. The first place winner will receive a spot in my magazine. A few weeks later, I got a phone call from this producer asking me about my readership numbers. I answered them, but I asked why. That's when I was told that they were bringing in another publication, and now that publication would take first place, and they wanted to move me to the second place winner. I had to stop and let that marinate versus just responding on impulse. But after processing what they had said, I had to tell her that I was going to decline. Not because I'm difficult, not because I'm arrogant, but because to me that was disrespectful. You were asking me to downgrade myself so that someone else could take the first place spot as if I wasn't worthy of it. And I'm not going to shrink myself for anyone or minimize my value just so I could still have a seat at the table. Because if I had to downgrade myself to be included, then the seat, it wasn't worth it in the first place. And after that, I had another situation that really made me pause. I was contacted by a local organization that wanted to honor me with an award. They told me I had been nominated as either a rising star or a rising entrepreneur. And at first, I paused, not because I wasn't grateful, but because the title, it didn't sit well with me. And at the time, I had already been in the game for almost a decade. I built businesses. I produced my own events. I've created platforms. I've done the work consistently. So I had to ask myself, who decided that I'm still rising? Not because I think that I'm above anyone, not because I didn't appreciate the recognition, but because words matter, titles matter, and labeling me as rising minimize the years of work, the sacrifice, and the growth it took to get me to where I am. So once again, I decline because I'm not going to accept recognition that quietly downplayed my journey. I didn't rise overnight. I built this. And here's the part that people don't see. People look at the accolades, the platforms, the magazine, the events, and assume that everything has always been perfect. They don't see what happens behind the scenes. They don't see the financial struggle, the moments when bills didn't line up, the times when my husband and I had to figure things out with nothing but faith and a hustle. You would know it because I don't look like what I've been through. And that's the thing. Just because someone doesn't announce their struggle doesn't mean that they haven't struggled. Some of us have learned early that complaining doesn't change the situation, but action does. I hustle the way that I do because I know what instability looks like. I move the way that I do because I promise myself I'll never go back. So when people come to me with constant excuses, constant complaints, constant, I can't do this or that, I understand where they're coming from, but I also know it doesn't get you anywhere. I don't make the decisions I make now because I think I'm better than anyone. I make them because I know what it costs to start over. I know what it costs to finally have peace, and I know what it costs to demand respect. I paid the price for rebuilding. I paid the price for being misunderstood. I paid the price of doing it with no safety net. So now I'm very intentional about who has access to me, what I allow, and what I entertain. Some people lose access to you not because they did something wrong. They lose access because you finally did something right for yourself. And if it makes me look different, if it makes me look selective or distant, I'm okay with that because I don't look like, again, what I've been through. and I refuse to go back to anything that cost me my peace. So, on that note, I'm going to close this episode with saying this. Make sure that you protect your peace, you honor your worth, and you never apologize for choosing yourself, okay? All right. Until next time, peace and love.